Hello everyone, welcome to our second online Movement to Work forum. For those of you who don't know, my name is Sam Olsen and I'm the CEO for Movement to Work. Following joining the team in February, I was only a few weeks into the role before I was called back to my former position at the Department for Education to help with the emerging COVID-19 crisis and how this was affecting vulnerable children across the country. As you'll imagine, it was a challenging few months, but I'm delighted to be back at Movement to Work, and huge thanks to Dal and the rest of our team who covered for me during this period. I'm also virtually joined by all of the team here today, some of you who you already know. Deb's our Head of Outreach, Matt, our Head of Insight and Innovation, our Regional Sales Leads, Sophia, Chris and Simon, and Head of Comms, Maria, and Lydia, our Team Coordinator. Today, we are absolutely delighted to have all of you with us. Movement to Work ordinarily has a lively annual calendar of in-person events, as many of you know. We are adapting to life increasingly online, and it means the world to us to see so many of you making an effort to attend virtually. So, for our second Movement to Work forum, we ask the question, as COVID-19 continues to pose serious socio-economic challenges nationwide, how can we work towards a brighter future for all our young people? One of the key words here is nationwide. In the last 12 months, Movement to Work has developed a regional presence in the West Midlands, the Northwest and the Northeast. In fact, we had our Northeast launch planned for late March, but amongst the COVID-19 crisis, we had to cancel at the last minute. Today, then, we shine a spotlight on our regional hubs, as it remains so important to Movement to Work to address the problem of youth unemployment through a lens that's not so focused on London and the South East, but instead knows and appreciates the nuances of local challenges. We all know young people are amongst the hardest hit as a result of COVID-19, and our call to action is clear. We want to continue to collaborate with you to create and sustain brilliant opportunities for our young people and break the no experience, no job cycle that so many face. Whether through virtual technology, backing a D&I driven youth focused talent strategy, or becoming an early adopter of Kickstart, we're dedicated to helping our network emerge stronger from this crisis. For those of you who don't know, Kickstart was announced on the 8th of July as part of the government's plan for jobs. And since then, the Movement to Work team have been heavily involved in shaping this new policy, including hosting focus groups with many of you here today. Thank you for all your support so far. And now Movement to Work is here to help you make the most of the new scheme. We see it as a fantastic opportunity to give young people new options for boosting their career prospects, but also a brilliant way for employers to access diverse talent at low cost, to enrich their workforces and renew their social contract with the people of the UK. But don't just take it from me. Let's hear from Emma Taylor, People Director for UK and ROI at Tesco. Just one example of a leading employer already finding ways to make this work.
Hi, my name's Emma Taylor. I'm the People Director at Tesco in the UK and Ireland, and we're delighted to be taking part in the government's Kickstart scheme. We're about to give 1,000 opportunities to young people across the UK to come and work with us and support them with their employment, training and development at the time when they really need that support because of the challenges that we know exist in the employment market. We've been focused on giving opportunities to young people for many, many years, which is reflected in the relationship that we've got with Movement to Work. And now more than ever, it's important that we maintain that focus and also look at new opportunities and new ways of doing that, which the Kickstart scheme provides us with. The scheme is a great way of giving young people aged 16 to 24 who are receiving universal credit and who are at risk of long-term unemployment the chance to work with organisations and provide support to kickstart their career, to invest in their training and development, to give them employability and life skills which they can take forward into the employment market and be job ready. So we're really looking forward to taking part here at Tesco, and we think it's a great way for employers to make a difference at a time when we know these young people do need our support.
Thank you so much to Emma and Tesco for that great update. I hope it inspires you all. We can help you access Kickstart either by referring you to more employers who also want to participate, to a representative body to apply on your behalf, or in some cases, we could act as a representative to get you where you need to go. Get in touch today to find out more and get advice free of charge. Back to here and now then, divided into 3 sections: Insight, Impact and Inspire. These will be informative sessions with contribution from experts across our network. During our Insight session, we will hear from our regional contacts and their specific challenges. During the Impact sessions, we will learn about innovative solutions from BT and Ingenious. In our Inspire session, we'll hear from our Movement to Work ambassadors, Rhys and Brosh, and then we'll be opening the floor to a live panel. So please do stick around for the whole session if you're able to. I've got a few housekeeping items for you. Q&As, please do get involved. Please use the Q&A chat function to share questions, comments and feedback throughout. Sadly, we won't have time to address all of these live. However, we will be collating these and there'll be a follow-up document post-event. Feedback. We really appreciate you taking time to complete a very short survey at the end. The link will be shared with you in the chat and shouldn't take more than a couple of minutes, so please don't rush off. Audio-visual, depending on what device and version of Zoom you're using, audio-visual will vary. We're collating contact from across the network, so please do take care to alter your volume and video as appropriate to your device. Finally, please note that the session will be recorded and made available on our YouTube channel in the week following the event. Have fun, enjoy the session, and without further ado, I hand over to Sophia Spencer.
I am here. Thank you, Sam. So I think I know a few of you, but
Maria, I'm not sure about others, but I can't really hear Sophia, so you might need you to step in for her.
And I'm the West Midlands regional lead here at Movement. I'm working hard over the past.
Apologies, everyone. We're having some audio-visual problems, as I'm sure you're all familiar with at this point into our new world. What I think that Sophia is about to say is a very welcome James Lindsay from West Midlands.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Cool. I think we'll have to move swiftly on to James's presentation. Apologies for the audio-visual complications then with Sophia. Thank you, Sophia, for trying. But let's go straight to James's presentation. Welcome, James.
Thank you very much, Maria, and thank you, Sam, for the introduction. Can everybody see that? So yeah. I wanted to talk, thank you, just following on from the theme really around Kickstart and from a West Midlands Combined Authority perspective, what our involvement has been to date and what we really see as an important way of positioning this in a regional way. So taking a national government scheme, which is fantastic, and really giving it that regional approach in a similar way that we have with Movement to Work previously, around creating work placements for the region. So just to give some regional context, and I guess the reason why this is so fundamentally important at this time, there are some stats here in terms of the size of the challenge and those young people who are currently claiming work-related benefits in the West Midlands. So you can see that there are currently 43,000, just over 43,000 16 to 24-year-olds in the Combined Authority area, which equates to 8.7% of the resident population, which is above the average for the UK of 7.5%. Worryingly, these figures are up from 22,000 or 4.5% in February 2020, so nearly double. And we talked in the West Midlands for some time last year about that number being far too high for our liking, and what were we going to do to start to tackle it. So you can really start to see the scale of the impact of COVID-19 and how the numbers have unfortunately increased since lockdown. So a bit of background, and I know that Sam has already touched on this, but in terms of the wider background, the Kickstart scheme is part of the government's 2.2 billion plan for jobs. There is a 6-month placement element to it, targeted at 16 to 24-year-olds who are claiming universal credit and are at risk of long-term unemployment. We anticipate the first placements are likely to be available from November 20, and anticipate those to run until December 2021, but we would really like to see that be extended. There is an extra funding support for every young person to build their experience and help them move into sustained employment. And I think the point that Sam made was really important, that, you know, the initial commitment from an employer ask is around that initial placement, but we're really keen that that acts as the springboard onto progression into a more longer term sustainable opportunity. And employers are receiving 100% of the relevant national minimum wage for 25 hours a week of that placement. So what we know today, and this is an ever-moving feast for anybody who's involved, and we're in weekly dialogue with DWP and our local authorities in the region, really to keep abreast of the developments that are coming out from central government. But as it stands, some of the sort of baseline numbers that we know is that there is a £300 unit cost paid to an intermediary. The definitions, so if anyone's unclear, at the end of the slide deck there are some links to a DWP guidance page which explains a bit more about the roles, so what we mean by intermediaries, for instance. There's a £1,500 wraparound support package available per young person, and wage costs are paid in PAYE at particular times throughout the 6-month period. Applications need to specify the jobs they will deliver and the employability support for young people, and employers may choose to buy back certain services such as recruitment support, mentoring and job search using those costs that are laid out there. So why is this important? In addition to, I guess, the numbers and the scary sort of figures around the challenge of tackling youth unemployment, we really feel there's a role at a regional level, because there's a lot of change at the moment in the market, and we can't really control that, and we want to make sure that we use the levers that we have, including Kickstart, to really build the best opportunity for young people and employers, build some consistent messages so as to not complicate the offer, really demonstrate that added value, and really think about how do we prioritize referrals so that those young people who are in the most need receive this really important opportunity. And as I've said, proposals are being developed currently on a regional level with our chambers, Met Local Authorities and DWP. And critically, we see this national programme really coming into life as it becomes local delivery and we start to identify local intermediaries. So the opportunity there to help as many young people as possible gain experience, to support local businesses during this important recovery period, and to build a positive approach to employing young people across the region. So really capitalising on that positive start we've made in the last few years, particularly with movement to work and more employers being open to giving young people that first opportunity. So we've started to do some work around what good looks like from a young person's perspective and also from an employer's perspective. We feel it's imperative that there's a clear post-16 local offer for young people. We're conscious that there are a lot of different programmes available to young people. If you include things like apprenticeships, traineeships, the development of T-levels, for example. And it's really important from a young person's perspective, we feel that there is a clear message around why this is the right option for them at this point in their journey. The young person needs to have some choice in the Kickstart job, and really that needs to work hand in hand with the DWP work coach, the employer and the intermediary to make sure that the fit is right for everybody involved. The role of outreach and engagement activities we feel is really important. Whilst JCP is the sort of gateway for Kickstart, there is still a role for other organisations who work in that outreach and engagement space to be those sort of early identifiers of young people who maybe aren't known to JCP. The importance of a quality customer journey is imperative. We want to make sure that the opportunity is centred around a positive experience for the young person, and one that really builds in that support throughout. And as I said at the outset, it builds that transition into a more sustainable, longer term opportunity. The role of wraparound support is essential. This should be tailored and built around the young person. We know from some of the work we've done previously, some of the issues that young people face, particularly around increasing levels of mental health or low-level mental health, and some of the other financial and social issues or challenges that young people face. And it's really important that that wraparound support is built around the individual needs of the young person. Understanding support needs early on, so the role of initial assessment and an action plan that informs that wraparound support. And then support throughout the placement, so before, during and after, so that we sort of have that, continue that three-way dialogue between the work coach, the employer and the young person. And importantly, the young person leaves with a record of achievement and a bankable set of transferable skills. As Sam said, you know, it's not the expectation that every young person will go on to a sustained permanent employment within their employer. However, we do think it's a minimum expectation that, you know, young people should be walking away with a set of really vital, important transferable skills to take with them. So the role of, or what does good look like for an employer? Similar to that of a young person, really, we're very conscious that advice and guidance around this needs to be clear and concise and jargon free. We're here to support with that in terms of our regional network of local authorities and intermediaries to make sense of what this means for an employer, given that, you know, we're fully aware that there are a lot of pressures on businesses at the moment in terms of their own recovery plans, and we want to make that process as straightforward as possible. Alignment with other programs and incentives. Again, we are feels sometimes like we are always asking employers for more. So it's, you know, it's the apprenticeship levy, it's work placements, it's sector-based work academies. We want to sort of have a role in really hiding the wiring on that and making sure that the employer and the young person involved can be matched in a way that isn't complicated. And as I said, really fits the needs of both parties. Support must be local. As I've said, whilst this is a national programme, the role of particularly local intermediaries in this is going to be key, particularly for those SME businesses. So, you know, in the region, we have around 95% of our employers are in that SME space. So it's really important that, you know, whilst they may not have the HR functions that some of the larger employers have, that support is still on offer to them. And that also there's the right incentive for those who maybe have additional support needs. So young people who are on an EHCP plan, for instance. And I think there's some work that still needs to be done on this in terms of, you know, where there is that additional need for support. We've identified some risks and opportunities in this in terms of the early thinking. So some of the risks are around displacement. So what we don't want to happen is that, you know, the Kickstart scheme affects longer term employment or somehow displaces people who are already in work. Safeguarding, you know, of course, when there's young people involved, we have to ensure that is at the forefront of our minds. Adults prioritise for jobs and young people for Kickstart. Again, this is that sort of selection of when it's right for a young person. Reputation of everybody involved, so ourselves, Job Centre Plus, youth charities, employers. It's really important that we get this right. Cash flow payments and unregulated poor quality employment training. We want to ensure that as for instance, a holder of the adult education budget, that we have a role in defining what good employability training looks like. And as ever, that risk of dropout, how do we support young people who may fall out at any point throughout the journey? And finally, the opportunities really for us in getting this right is just building that region that can demonstrate a strong collaborative approach, a clear message to our employers, a link to other training support, and better service for individuals and companies. As I said, there's some additional guidance here. So we've, with DWP, set up a regional inbox to manage any queries that anybody may have. And there's also a link there to the wider DWP Kickstart brand guidelines. Thank you very much for your time. If there's any questions, I'm sure I'll be able to take them later on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, James and the WMCA. Fantastic presentation. Now, we've heard about what's going on in the West Midlands. It's time to move slightly north. My name is Simon Beckman and I am Movement to Work's Northwest Regional Lead. The Northwest is not short of some wonderful organisations doing all they can to deliver key projects designed to support employers in providing opportunities for the young people of the region. I am therefore delighted to introduce you to Andrew Ridge, Deputy Director at the Prince's Trust, and to Jack Loughlin, Programme Manager at Greater Manchester Combined Authority, to talk to you about the work they are jointly undertaking. First up is Andrew.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Ridge, Deputy Director of Operations at the Prince's Trust. I'm joining today's webinar to talk about Future Workforce Fund, an initiative we're delivering in partnership with Greater Manchester Combined Authority, a Department for Education funded skills pilot to help transform the lives of young people across GM. We've been working in partnership with GMCA and key stakeholders across the region to develop a range of courses and tailored support to provide young people with the practical and financial support needed to stabilise their lives, develop self-esteem, confidence, and gain valuable skills for work. So whether a young person is unemployed, in school, or in need of a confidence boost, we have a range of courses and support to help young people prepare for their future and take their next step. We're really proud to do things differently and that we're helping young people in the region to build sustainable futures. We launched the Future Workforce Fund programme back in September 2019, and since then we've helped over 2,000 young people right across the region. We know that helping young people to develop their skills and competence for the workplace is now more important than ever. We know young people need us more than they ever have before, and we're committed to providing the support they need to navigate this challenging time. Since the lockdown began, we supported young people to cope for today and prepare for tomorrow. We've helped young people with their well-being, helped young people stay connected, and provided opportunities to develop their key skills whilst at home. We've helped with financial barriers. We've also helped to young people to find work. An example of that is Poppy, a young lady who I met a few weeks ago whilst we were filming for Channel 5, a news article related to the latest unemployment statistics. Poppy had been out of work since 2014 due to health barriers which had stopped her from entering the world of work. Poppy took part in a Get Started in Health and Social Care programme with the Prince's Trust during lockdown. Poppy found the course worked better for her being online due to her anxiety and the fact that it was easy for her to learn in the comfort of her own home. Poppy had thought prior to the course that she was unemployable and she didn't have the confidence to enter the job market. Poppy completed that course and secured her dream job as a care assistant, which started at the end of July. Since we launched Future Workforce Fund, we've been building our employer base in Greater Manchester, supported by organisations such as Movement to Work. We've helped young people gain vital work experience and employment with organisations such as Boots, Amazon, the Co-op, Ford, all of who are brand new partners to the Trust and have joined us to support our work in Greater Manchester. There are also a number of other corporates who have enabled their workforce to give their time and energy to help inspire, develop and encourage the young people who we're working with. With the launch of the government Kickstart campaign, we're committed to supporting both employers and young people to maximise the benefit of this initiative. We will continue to work to ensure young people are prepared for the world of work when that opportunities arises. And we're ready to help match businesses with young people who are ready to make an impact on their organisation. Our leadership and training programmes can help young people with their ongoing development whilst in work or taking part in initiatives such as Kickstart. We continue to remain agile in how we both engage businesses and support young people to ensure we continue to address and reflect the continued changes in the economic and employment landscape. We're proud of the work that we're doing in Greater Manchester to tackle the youth unemployment crisis, but we know this is only the start and there's much more that we need to do and achieve. But we really can't do this alone, and it requires us all to work to a common objective. The GM Youth Guarantee, as detailed by our GMCA colleagues, will help ensure a collective and joined up approach to all our work in GM, will help galvanise employers and the third sector around a common mission. So if you believe Prince's Trust can help support you with your company's CSR or personal objectives, please do get in touch, either directly or through Movement to Work. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar and your day. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Andrew. Really good to hear. And now if we hand over to Jack Lachlan at GMCA.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Lachlan. I'm a Programme Manager at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. Part of my responsibilities, I work very closely with the Prince's Trust to support the design and delivery of the Future Workforce Fund here in Greater Manchester. As Andrew had mentioned on his video before, the Future Workforce Fund is a pretty unique initiative between the Trust and the Combined Authority, supported by government, to essentially test new approaches that can help thousands of young people across the city region get the skills, competencies and experiences that enable them to move closer to the labour market. And a critical component of all of the work that is undertaken through the Future Workforce Fund is a really clear dialogue and involvement of businesses, both in terms of the design of interventions and initiatives, but actually, you know, the delivery of opportunities as well. So whether that's through things where it's supporting young people in education, so in schools and colleges, to gain an understanding around what work looks like, and undertaking things like work experience and work shadowing opportunities, right through to paid employment opportunities and apprenticeships for young people who are unemployed or furthest from the labour market. And the key thing about Future Workforce Fund is that the programme has been structured to ensure that there are different entry route ways and different types of programme intervention that support the different needs and the different circumstances that our young people are in, but also support the different requirements and reflect the capacity that different employers have in relation to being able to support and engage with young people during this time. Now, I mentioned this time as a sort of critical thing, really, because I think we recognise that programmes like the Future Workforce Fund are probably needed now more than they ever have been. We are all in society facing a pretty unprecedented period because of the coronavirus pandemic. But what we do know is that young people in times of crisis, and particularly during times of economic recession, are often much more disproportionately impacted than others in society. And what we're really mindful of in Greater Manchester is making sure that we are able to put in the support and the mechanisms and the infrastructure that helps us and helps our young people to avoid becoming a pandemic generation. I think it's clear that this, as I said before, and it's a term that's often used, that these times are really unprecedented, because although we know that the economic impact is pretty worrying, and you as businesses will know that better than anyone. The impact for young people kind of cross-cuts, so it's not just economic, it's educational, it's social because of things like the lockdown, and also of course there's the health element, which has driven so much of the policy in this space as well. So in Greater Manchester, through clear commitments by our Mayor, Andy Burnham, we are looking to introduce a new guarantee for young people, which will look to create opportunities and essentially safeguard their future prosperity, making sure that young people have the hope and the aspirations and the optimism about what the future holds. And we need businesses to play an absolutely vital and critical role in that. So we have a clear call to action to businesses. We want you to get involved in any way that you can, whether that's through the provision of things like work experience, work shadowing, mentoring opportunities, virtual experiences within schools, as has been mentioned, right through to the delivery of pre-employment programs, apprenticeships, paid jobs. We absolutely see businesses as being fundamental to our recovery plan and the offer of support to young people. Now, through programs like the Future Workforce Fund and things like Movement to Work, we want you to feel confident that the support is there to help you engage in the best possible way, provide you with the programs and the structured support that gives you the confidence to offer the right level of support that suits your business needs and your business requirements, and ultimately reflects, as I said before, the capacity that you're able to offer during these challenging times. So if you want to get involved, you're interested, then please speak to us at the Combined Authority through our Bridge GM movement, or please speak to the Trust or Movement to Work to find out how you can get involved. It's absolutely critical. We talk about young people being our future workforce. So, we absolutely want businesses to be involved in the response and the recovery. So please do get involved, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Andrew and Jack. It was really great to hear the call to action to employers and how we can all contribute to improving the youth employment picture. Now, I'd like to introduce the final insight session of the day. My name's Chris Gallen, and I'm the regional lead here at Movement to Work for the North East. Next, we'll be hearing from Alex Black from the North of Tyne Combined Authority, focusing on how they work to contribute to the North East's youth employment ecosystem with some key next steps.
Good morning. Thank you to Movement to Work for inviting us along to be part of the event today. The bar was set pretty high back in June, so we just hope we can build on the momentum from that event and contribute to the important conversation around youth employment. I'm Alex Black, Inclusive Economy Programme Officer at North of Tyne Combined Authority. For those that aren't familiar with the North of Tyne Combined Authority, that job title and role will make a bit more sense in a minute as I talk through our involvement with the youth employment ecosystem. So I've got about 10 minutes to talk to you today, and I'm going to start by giving an overview of the North of Tyne Combined Authority. And then on the theme of insight, impact and inspire, I'll talk you through some of the information that is being collected and used to inform our practice. I'll give you a brief overview of the North East Recovery Plan and what that means in practice. And I'll also talk to you a bit more about what the North of Tyne Combined Authority are doing. And then finally, I hope to leave you with a few key actions and next steps that we're working towards to address some of the issues around youth employment. So what is the North of Tyne Combined Authority? We bring together the local authority areas of Newcastle, North Tyneside and Northumberland under one united vision. We were formally established in November 2018 with the first mayor elected 6 months later. so by all accounts we're a relatively new combined authority. Our area is home to world-leading businesses, amazing destinations, a wealth of culture and residents full of ambition and talent. Our economic vision is set to capitalise on these assets and unlock the potential of our area to create a thriving, dynamic economy. Our economic vision is underpinned by our inclusive economy and ambitions. Despite our great assets, our area struggles with inequalities. Compared to the rest of the country, residents here on average earn £45 a week less. Children are more likely to grow up in poverty here than they are elsewhere in England. And young people have often struggled to unlock their potential, and we have one of the highest rates of young people not in education, employment and training. These inequalities also run deep in our constituent authority areas, with significant inequalities experienced even between neighbouring wards. There are groups who experience these inequalities more than others, and that's damaging for them, for our economy and for us as a society. We're striving for a more productive, dynamic but more equitable community. Young people are part of this equation, and if we can address the issues for them and create an environment where they can thrive, it will have a lasting impact for generations. COVID-19 has certainly turned the world upside down since February. As we're starting to steady, we're also starting to get a better understanding of what that means for the north of Tyne, and in particular for young people. Early in the pandemic, COVID-19 was described as the great leveller for the way in which health implications didn't differentiate and the ease at which the virus spread between communities. We now know that isn't true, and worse still, the economic implications have impacted communities differently. This has had significant implications for our inclusive economy ambitions. Women, people of ethnic minorities, people with disabilities and young people who already faced inequalities in our area are now being hit harder. As we're here today to talk about young people, anyone that has followed the literature will know young people are 2.5 times more likely to work in shutdown sectors. Approximately 30% of workers in our region have been furloughed, so you can only begin to understand what this has meant for young people and their early careers development. Nationally, the ONS recently published figures saying that the number of 18 to 24-year-olds claiming unemployment-related benefits in July is up 126% compared to March. Anyone that's worked with young people for a while will realise that not all young people will be claiming employment benefits because of circumstances such as still being able to live at home. In truth, the numbers here are likely to be much worse than what is presented. As businesses adapt to new ways of working and, quite frankly, adjust to what is now a survival mode, we've seen near record levels of people in zero-hour contracts. Approximately 1 million people across England are employed in zero-hour and temporary contracts, and young people are disproportionately represented in these roles. Again, the north of Tyne and the North East region historically has quite high levels of people in insecure work, so we need to think what this means for our residents and for young people in particular, and how we can champion and advocate good work in such difficult operating circumstances. One of the obvious challenges around zero-hour and temporary contracts for young people is that opportunity to develop and gain the building blocks which will support their ongoing career. But it's not just employment where young people have been impacted. We've also seen approximately a 15% decline in apprenticeship starts for quarter 3 in the north of Tyne. Typically, quarter 3 doesn't have high levels of apprenticeship starts anyway, and it's based quite often around the academic year. So come September, we're expecting again another significant drop in apprenticeship starts. Again, we need to think through what this means for young people and that pathway into progressive, valuable, meaningful employment. And finally, for anyone that turned on the TV during August or opened a newspaper, you'll be well aware of the issues we've had around exam results and tracking attainment for young people, supporting them on their educational journeys. As an area with 2 internationally renowned universities, we tracked students from across not just the country, but also from abroad. What this means for our economy, both in terms of the migration of young people, importing skills and preparing our economy for the skills and the talent needed to thrive, we've got a lot more thinking to do. We also require a lot more data to really understand the impact, which, due to the academic cycle, we're not expecting to see until October. That brings me on to my next slide. So as much as we've got lots of valuable data, there's lots of information that we don't know, and there's going to be a data lag. So in order to move forward effectively, we need to be better at collaborating and listening and asking each other the right questions. In times of such uncertainty, we also need to do it more often, more frequently, so that we stay ahead of the game and keep ahead of the moving picture that we're currently living through. There's lots of valuable surveys and consultations that have happened since February. Prince's Trust always do an annual survey, which is excellent, and the National Youth Association have got a long list on their websites of a lot of valuable resources that have explored the impact of coronavirus on young people. Here in the north of Tyne, we wanted to add to that collection and to also get a localised perspective from young people on their aspirations ahead of the autumn. We've released a survey targeting young people who are aged 16 to 25, asking about how their aspirations have changed and what support that they need to move on to their next steps. The survey has only been open for 3 weeks and it'll close on the 18th of September, but from the early results that we've had, we've discovered that young people's confidence has been shattered and replaced with anxiety over their fears. Young people require or are asking for a lot more bespoke support to help them navigate this new world and to understand some of the technical aspects of application processes that are inhibiting them from their next step. Of course, we're really keen that this survey is representative of young people in our region, so we'd really appreciate your support in helping to share this, and we'll publish all the results online so that other organisations can use this to help shape their service. This isn't about what the North of Tyne can do, this is about what we as stakeholders can do collectively to create the right ecosystem for young people to reach their potential. In terms of impact and what's already happening, I'm not going to dwell on this slide of their national response, but the government and the Treasury released a statement back in July time outlining some of their key policy developments in relation to employment and education support for young people. And pick up a few of those key features. It's great to see that young people are going to have access to some valuable work experience and the investment in traineeships, career support and apprenticeships. There's a significant investment here which is very welcome. What we need to do now as a combined authority, working with our constituent local authorities and other key stakeholders, is work out how these new policies, these new opportunities will be implemented within our region. To ensure that these policies are effective, they need to be coordinated in a way that is easily understandable and accessible for young people so that they can plot their next career steps and that businesses are able to access the talent that they need to help their business survive and to grow. The North East Economic Recovery Response Group, made up of the North East Combined Authority, the North of Tyne Combined Authority, the North East LEP, the CBI and the universities, have been helping to shape a plan to help not just young people but our whole region overcome some of the challenges imposed by COVID-19 and work towards a more inclusive, dynamic recovery. The full plan is available on the North East LEP's website, so I'll let you go and browse that at your own time, but generally it's split into 3 phases. One which is about the now, the here and now, the immediate impacts. The second is the next stage about exiting lockdown, and the third is about developing new stages to help us towards our vision. And across those you'll see various interventions for young people, including coordinating labour market interventions, looking at enterprise startup and support and employability support. about refreshing some of our skills strategies and economic visions so that the provision available to young people matches the needs and the demands of the new emerging labour market. And third and finally, the long-term vision about looking at that end-to-end journey for young people and for those in the labour market, working towards further skills devolution and investment in local infrastructure, which can play a significant role in careers offers for young people. And across all of these aspects is certainly the element of good work, whether that's young people who are engaged with the labour market right now or looking towards the future, making sure that the work that is available for young people in our region gives them the best platform to be able to reach their potential. So what are the North of Tyne Combined Authority doing? We're working within the North East Economic Recovery Group's strategic work plan to develop our own young person work plan. This has been designed in collaboration with our Inclusive Economy Board, which has helped make sure that no young person is being left behind. We've already adapted some of our commissioning and our investment decisions in response to COVID-19 and to support young people with their education and employment pathways. You can read a bit more about some of these projects on the North of Tyne website. But it's not just about funding, it's about what we can achieve together, and some of the power of the North of Tyne Combined Authority. Being a combined authority is about convening, and it's about building upon the existing infrastructures that already exist. In particular, we're considering how we continue our work with DWP to shape the employment support available for young people, work with our adult education providers and other key stakeholders to ensure that skills provision meets the emerging needs of our economy, and to be able to deliver on the Plan for Jobs commitment that were announced by Treasury back in July. Alongside that is the continued engagement and consultation with young people through the survey, which will be fed into all of our discussions, both with local stakeholders and through the M9 and Northern Powerhouse discussions. There's no timeline for how long this pandemic is going to last, and there's certainly no quick fix. So we need to all work together to play our part and to understand how we can come together to create a better environment for young people to reach their potential. So finally, what next? Well, inspiration is hard when you're speaking to those that are clearly engaged in this conversation already. They've given up their morning to contribute to the discussions. The next steps as we see them are fairly simple. We'll continue our consultation with young people, and we'll look forward to sharing the results of that survey with the wider North of Tyne area. We're looking at further ways in which we can involve young people in the conversations around the decisions that matter for them, including a mayor's question time, perhaps later in the year or at the start of next year. We're also keen to further develop our partnerships, working with local stakeholders to get a better understanding of the world around us and what we can do collectively to work in a more integrated way. And finally, we're going to be working through the stages of the North East Economic Recovery Plan to get a better understanding of what we need to do in our region to reach our ambitions. We'll continue to track and monitor data on those groups that might look like they're being left behind or facing additional inequalities because of the emerging situation. And we'll be looking at how we can work with local stakeholders and to request more devolution to better inform and better influence the provision that are available to young people. We'll be part of the panel discussion later today, so we hope you can stay and ask us any questions then. Thanks again for your time, and I hope it's been useful.
Thank you, Alex from NTCA. Absolutely fabulous presentation. And I just want to pick up again and reinforce that message that this now is the moment where we can all and should all collaborate and focus our efforts on supporting young people in what are obviously increasingly difficult times. So now we want your feedback. I'm very conscious of time, so we'll possibly just reduce this to a minute or so. And this is time for you to share any further questions or comments and feedback. And if you'd like to use the chat function or the Q&A function in the Zoom application, please do so. So we've had some great comments come through already. Lots of positive comments around wonderful presentations. Great to hear the types of work that have been ongoing. Again, wonderful presentations, and thanks out to all of the presenters up to now. We've got some specific questions too that I can see that have been sent in, so I'll just read a couple of those out. And obviously we won't have time to respond to those now, but we'll do in due course. So NTCA, we've had a comment, love the collaborative approach between the combined authorities, the LEP, the CBI and universities. Joining forces like this does seem like absolutely the right thing to do. We've had a couple of questions through to Prince's Trust and GMCA that we can pick up later. For example, we've got, how can employers access the Future Workforce Fund? Are the criteria that need to be met? And a bit more specifically, Future Workforce Fund is a great initiative. How successful do you think it's been? Is this something that could be replicated in other areas of the UK? So some cracking messages coming through, so please keep those going. What else have we got here? We have got, again to the NTCA, 15% decline in apprenticeships is very worrying. What can be done to encourage more employers to offer apprenticeships and make apprenticeships more attractive and viable and seen as a viable option for young people and not be seen as a poor relation to higher education? So keep those questions and comments coming through. Very much appreciated, and like I say, we will get back to you on anything that you put through for us. If it's not during the forum, it will be shortly afterwards. So
I'm just going to jump in, Simon. So I'm not Sophia Spencer, unfortunately. This is Maria O'Connor, Head of Brand and Communications for Movement to Work. Sophia was having a bit of technical issues, so just jumping in. Thanks so much for all of your engagement so far and those brilliant presentations from our regional contacts. We will now be hearing from Amy Catton from BT for our first impact session. Amy and her colleagues will be sharing learnings from their virtual programs, as well as giving us an insight into how these have made an impact on young people over the last few months. Thank you very much, Amy.
One of the things I love about Movement to Work is how willing everybody is to share their successes, their discoveries, the challenges that they're facing. You know, I think we're all on a journey, probably quite a different journey than to the one that we thought we might have been on a few months ago. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about kind of BT's recent evolution, but also just be quite honest about my observations and about, you know, what's working well and areas that I want us to you know, continue to improve on. For those of you who don't know, BT's signature programme pre-COVID was a 2-week face-to-face programme for unemployed 18 to 24-year-olds. We covered all of the employability essentials you would expect, real focus on digital skills, hands-on work experience, a mock assessment day, and lots of support for 6 months post-programme. So in the middle of March, when lockdown hit, we initially were faced with the challenge of how do we keep all of these young people who have been on a face-to-face programme with us feeling engaged, motivated, resilient, and how do we help them navigate this landscape which has changed and got even more tricky to kind of to work through and more barriers to face than ever before. And then as lockdown kind of continued and it became clear that this wasn't going to be something that would go away very quickly, we realised we were facing a second challenge of how do we reach more young people and how do we support more people without physically being near them and being face to face. So these are the kind of the two things that we've been working towards, all while about half of my team have been homeschooling children of various ages. So for the first challenge, Obviously, the coaches were continuing to keep in touch with the young people in a variety of ways, but we've also been able to grant everybody access to the full LinkedIn Learning Catalogue, which was fantastic. There's thousands of courses on there. What a better way to spend your time when you're stuck at home in quarantine than rounding out your skill set, learning something new, and really having something to show for your time. But it wasn't actually that straightforward. It took, I think, more than we'd anticipated for the coaches to kind of to persuade young people and to motivate them to get involved, to give it a go, and to really reap the benefits of that. So that was definitely learning for us. And in the future, we're going to be introducing the LinkedIn Learning Catalogue from day one of our programs, so that it's much more ingrained in the kind of the core content. And we'll have a bit more focus on the importance of self-directed learning, because actually that's a real skill in itself. The second challenge then of reaching more people. Initially, we developed 4 hour-long interactive webinars, all with kind of content that we'd taken from our standard program. We didn't want rigorous sign-up process, so actually we've made it really straightforward, and consequently we've ended up being, appealing to a much more diverse audience and a much wider audience than we would typically. So as you can see, probably only about 40% or so of participants on the webinars are within our kind of the movement to work traditional age range. So a significant number are outside of that. We're also attracting more women to the webinars than we do for our face-to-face programs, which is interesting in and of itself and something that I definitely want to explore further. And I was quite surprised that about a third of people on the program, or on the webinar, sorry, were actually saying that they had a job. These aren't people that were furloughed, that were unemployed. They had employment, but we could surmise that they perhaps weren't feeling confident that this was going to be a job that would see them through the duration, and they were wanting to kind of brush up those skills. So we found ourselves kind of then playing this preemptive role and helping people avoid becoming unemployed, which again is not something that we've done before. Really pleased with the positive feedback that we got, and particularly we wanted to make it feel a conversational tone and approach. There's tons of content out there, fantastic, tutorials, different things that you can watch, but really wanted to engage with people, understand their questions and answer those in the moment. So I'm pleased to see that that is resonating with people. The other thing that we did was ask people what else they wanted to see from us. And we asked and they told us, and we took it on board. So the last 2 webinars listed on the screen are actually ones that we have created in response to people consistently telling us that these were areas that they wanted some extra support and guidance on. And we actually took one webinar out of rotation because it just wasn't attracting people to it. So we've kind of taken that out. So that is an overview of where we are at in our journey. But when it comes to talking and thinking about impact, I can sit and talk to you for another 5 minutes, but actually we think the best thing to do is to let you hear from some of the individuals and some of the groups of people that we work with, support, and have a positive impact on.
I done the work ready programme for BT, and that helped me a lot. During it, you learn how to do some CV skills, which obviously can help you get a job, not just at BT but anywhere. Some presentation skills, like working in groups, it builds your confidence up a lot. For me, it did a lot for me as well, especially in the kind of work environment, working with people you've never met before, not just like people in school that you kind of of. It's people from all different sorts of backgrounds as well, which is good. And yeah, it helped me get a job in the end. You meet a lot of great people within BT who know a lot within the business as well, which teach you a lot.
Hi, my name is Jordan. I recently was on a BT Work Ready course with G. It was a bit weird at first because I wasn't sure if I wanted to progress and do the Work Ready course because I wasn't sure if it was going to guarantee me a job or if it would just be a bit of a waste of time. But I eventually decided to go through with it, and it was worth it in the end because it taught me a lot to do with my CV writing and things I needed to update, certain things that I was missing out, and it was holding me back. Certain interview techniques, the way I was answering certain questions in interviews and looking at it a certain way. And I did apply for a job as a trainee engineer, and to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to get it. But with the help of G and a few of my other colleagues, I did pass my first interview and my second video interview, which I found really awkward, but we managed to get through it. And I'm due to become a professional engineer hopefully sometime next year after my training finishes. It's something that has changed my life for the better in many different ways, and I'm looking forward to where I can progress in the future with BT and OpenReach. Thank you very much.
BT Work Ready gets you ready for work, but also ready for the future. Hi, my name's Ollie, and my personal experience with the Be a Hit interview seminar was that it was an invaluable experience that gave me so much confidence going into my first interview. It made me totally comfortable with the whole process, thanks to things like its interactivity. Following on from that, I was able to do a one-on-one with Alan, where I got to learn lots of little tips and tricks and got to ask questions for professional advice. Following on from that, I'm now at the assessment centre stage of my application process and hoping to proceed even more once I attend the assessment centre seminar later this week.
I would like to say a big thank you to BT for hosting the Making Your CV Work For You webinar. The session was fun yet informative, and the optional free one-to-one CV review with a CV coach helped to get my CV into much better shape. I would highly recommend the webinar to help you create that great CV.
I've always had a passion for helping young people, and Alan really helped me explore that passion when he introduced me to the Work Ready programme in February, when they came to Cardiff, and he asked me to facilitate some Work Ready work experience for 30 young people to come into the Cardiff Contact Centre. Out of these people, 5 people secured a role within the Cardiff Contact Centre as customer agents, and they're definitely on the road to success. From here, Alan and I became really good friends, and he helped me then get more involved with Work Ready when they went virtual. So I've attended a lot of webinars and also become really good friends now with the rest of the Work Ready team. From here then, people have actually reached out to me on LinkedIn as well, so my support can continue to grow to help young people with CVs and look out for opportunities for them as well, so it doesn't just stop within Work Ready. But personally, it's helped me a lot with my confidence levels, with my public speaking abilities, and also networking. So now I've got my day job, but I've got Work Ready now on the side as well, which I have extra colleagues, extra friends. So I've got nothing but positive things to say about Work Ready, and I'm so happy that Alan introduced me to it.
Hi there, my name's Paul, and I was one of the volunteers to work with the Work Ready team when it visited Glasgow last year. Now, as well as actually helping out young people, that's given me a great foundation on my presentation and communication skills, what I've continued to use my day-to-day work life. Now, as well as actually helping out in face-to-face meetings with the COVID-19 situation, the team have been running online webinars, what includes CV, workshops, and interview techniques. I've been a volunteer on both of these programmes, and it really is fantastic to still be able to help our wider public even during these difficult times.
It's lovely to kind of get that feedback from the range of people, and watching it back with the team, I know everybody was really glowing and had a great sense of pride, which makes me think that actually that's the other group of people that we have impact on is ourselves. All of us who work towards these goals day in, day out. I think it's really nice just to take a moment and to reflect that every person's progression, every person's, whether they get a job or whether they just leave feeling more confident and more able to face the world, that's a win. It's intensely personal, these opportunities for the volunteers as well as for the young people, and it takes a lot of resource to invest in them, a lot of time and effort, and so looking forward, we're wanting to see how can we continue to invest in people in new ways. So taking our cue from a few others, we are in the process already of developing our new virtual programme, which is likely to be taking place over the course of a couple of weeks with part-time learning, all of the essential Work Ready content, kind of repackaged so that it's meaningful and engaging when delivered virtually. Lots of learning from Accenture and other organisations that have already been trialling things, so thank you very much to you guys for your knowledge sharing. We'll hopefully be piloting in November, so maybe I can report back then and tell you how it's gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Amy and BT there, and all of those amazing speakers for sharing their experiences of the Work Ready programs with us. So I'd now like to hand you over to Deb Scord.
Oh, Debs, have we lost you?
Oh, did you hear any of me?
Go for it, Debs. We've got you now.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Next is a fabulous presentation from Ingeus. Movement to Work's Emerge Stronger from COVID-19 campaign has 3 pillars: recruit a young person, be accessible, go digital, and support and empower. Anthony Langdon from Ingeus is going to discuss programs which will support and empower young people, both seeking and remaining in work. Let's go to the presentation.
Morning, my name's Anthony Langdon from Ingeus. Thank you for Movement to Work for inviting me to talk to you today. I'm going to talk about 2 things: how we help people start work and how we help people stay in work. First of all, I'll give you a quick introduction to Ingeus. We were actually founded in the late 80s in Australia to support rehabilitation of people with health conditions, and we've been delivering in the UK since 2002. A range of mainstream employment programs like the Work Programme, where we were the first provider to take on health practitioners to support the needs of our participants. We're also a disability confident leader, so we practice what we preach in the terms of support that we offer to individuals. Last year, we became part of the global APM group. This has now extended our reach to 11 countries and almost 700 sites across those countries, through which we support individuals on their journey into and progression within work. That includes in the UK our work with ex-offenders, those in custody and those in the community, our support for young people who are leaving education through the National Citizenship Service, and we are the largest provider of the National Diabetes Prevention Programme for the NHS. But the 2 things that I'll talk to you more about today are the Work and Health Programme and JETS, which is how we help people start work, and our Able Futures programme, which is how we help people with mental health conditions stay in work. The Work and Health programme is delivered throughout England and Wales. Ingeus actually leads 3 of those contracts in the Northwest, Lancashire, Cumbria, Merseyside and Cheshire, in the 10 boroughs of Greater Manchester and in central London. And we also support other organisations to deliver in the West Midlands and in North Yorkshire. So these are the brands that we use to deliver the programme, but there are individual providers delivering this throughout England and Wales. Able Futures is a national programme, which is access to work mental health support service. And I'll talk about each of these on the next few slides. The Work and Health programme has been commissioned by the Department for Work and Pensions, and the first contracts went live at the end of 2017. Is really designed during a period of relatively low unemployment to meet the needs of minority groups that may not have benefited from some of the more mainstream programmes, particularly focusing on closing the disability employment gap for people with health conditions and disabilities. And we provide a 15-month journey for individuals that want to enter work within the next 12 months. And we're really trying to unpick the barriers to work that they may have, helping them address those internally with our own resources, and drawing on a network of partner organisations to help people meet their aims. And we're really focused on sustainable employment with the contract. So rather than focusing on a job start, which a lot of contracts have done in the past, we're measured on earnings. So the motivation is to get people into the right job at the right time so that they can stay in that and last. There are 3 main groups that come to the Work and Health programme. The clue's in the title, with the main group over 4 out of 5 participants having a health condition or disability, and they can join the programme voluntarily. but there are also 12 early access groups. I've listed those on the slide there. People who've come from an armed forces background, homelessness, drug and alcohol recovery, perhaps a caring history, they can also join the programme voluntarily. And there's a residual number of people who are mandated to the programme when they reach 2 years of unemployment. For employers, the real opportunity is to understand people's backgrounds and make any reasonable adjustments ahead of time. So any candidates that are introduced are pre-screened and matched, and we present individuals with a support mechanism already in place. Our screening and preparation, I would say, exceeds mainstream recruitment. One example for a major retailer with a new store opening, we arranged for 19 people to attend interview, and of those 19, 17 of them were employed. And a real aspect of the programme for employers that want to reach into communities is perhaps to attract people that wouldn't normally be successful through an online or mainstream application. 1 in 5 adults of working age by current definitions have some form of health condition or disability, and that includes neurodiversity talents. And also people who perhaps are given a choice in a supportive environment by an employer do tend to stay longer. We're measured on sustainability, and I'm pleased to say that Ingeus delivers the top performing contract for the Work and Health Programme nationally, based on our ability to place people into the right job at the right time and support them on the early journey into work. As announced in the mini budget a few months ago, the Work and Health Programme has been extended to reach more people that have been displaced through the COVID period who may not be eligible for the DWP's Work and Health Programme. And this has come in the form of JETS, Job Entry Targeted Support, which has been added on to Work and Health Programme contracts to go live on the 5th of October. This is designed to coincide with the wind down of the furlough scheme, but we anticipate the larger numbers will flow onto this programme from the early part of next year as people reach 3 months of unemployment post furlough scheme ending. It's designed for people of working age of all different backgrounds, and we anticipate that high numbers of people will represent young people that have lost work through entry-level work, no job offers following apprenticeships, but also experienced managers that may have lost jobs due to industrial decline and sector decline. And it's for people who may wish to commence work in the same kind of job again, but also people that wish to pivot and embark on a new career. And it's for people who may have been struggling independently to find work. So we're really mindful that updating CVs, preparing people with a better interview technique, how to use transferable skills are going to be important values here. And why should employers use it? Well, it's a really easy way to find candidates who are being supported. It's really easy now to click a button on a website and apply for a job which you may not be suited to or completely understand. We use a range of resources to help point people in the right directions. And it allows employers to draw on experience within a sector, and also to attract people who may not have worked in that sector before, but really present an opportunity to bring knowledge, expertise into new industries. So now I've talked about 2 programmes, the Work and Health Programme and the imminent JETS programme, that help people start work. The Access to Work Mental Health Support Service is a nationally commissioned programme by the DWP to help people stay in work and manage their mental health. And the Ingeus programme is branded as Able Futures. It's really aimed to help people who have a job but are starting to have those concerns about their ability to continue in work or perform effectively. It helps people address their anxieties about returning to work from furlough. It also can help young people who are apprenticed and maybe find that they're not so connected to the workplace, working remotely in the current period. And it provides 9 months of support from qualified mental health practitioners, our vocational rehabilitation consultants. It sits outside of any employer commission programmes. There's no funding conflict there. It's completely confidential. It's accessible through the Able Futures website, but there's also a range of materials that we can apply to employers, HR teams, to allow their staff to access it within the workplace. And it also helps complement EAPs. where statistics tell us that people who have access to an employee assistance programme don't necessarily look at that as the first port of call for support, but they may contact an independent programme like Able Futures. And there's a really interesting stat that I put on the slide there. Commonly, people with physical health conditions may take time off sick. People with mental health conditions, unless it's really acute, may continue to present at work, but this is at the detriment of their performance, mental health and well-being within the workplace. So presenteeism is identified as costing 2 to 3 times what absenteeism might cost in the workplace. With the time available, I've only been able to give a very brief introduction to the Work and Health Programme and Job Entry Targeted Support Programme, which comes into effect on the 5th of October. This is delivered through 11 contracts nationally. I work collaboratively with the other prime contractors, and we do effectively support national employers to ensure there's a consistent service there. Able Futures is available to any employer, public, private or third sector of any size, and that's available throughout the UK. So if anyone listening has any questions, feel free to ask those during the panel session or get in contact with me directly. My contact details are there. I can help you with any of the contracts that Ingeus delivers, but also effect any introductions to other parts of the country where a similar programme may be available. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Anthony from Ingeus. It's really great to hear about those additional services for mental health support as the new normal is starting to impact us all, and especially our young people. And now I would like to hand you over to Maria and our amazing youth ambassadors.
Thanks, Simon, and thank you all for those really insightful presentations. It is so exciting to see such innovative solutions and projects being launched and succeeding in such a challenging environment. For our Inspire session, I am very proud to say something about our youth ambassadors, a group that was launched earlier this year, committed to be the voice of young people within our organisation. We have about 30 young people in our network so far, but we want more. So please share details and please do get involved. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first youth speaker, Rhys Metcalf.
Hello everyone, my name is Rhys Metcalf and I am currently a clinic clerk at Gateshead Hospital. How I got involved with the Movement to Work programme was through Project Choice, which is a course for people with disabilities age 16 to 24 to help them get back into work. I started on that course 2 years ago and I was given a placement at the Queen Elizabeth Health Record Department. And 2 years on down the line, I have got a full-time position there. And I have progressed into a clinic clerk, which I am so happy about. I am so grateful for the opportunity I was given because I have gained more confidence. I am able to do things I never thought I would be able to do. I can see all these opportunities and I'm not scared to not take the risk anymore. I think I've done fine for my standards. My advice for the Movement to Work, for the employer to consider us, is young people. They do work hard and they do want to show what they've got and not be labelled by their disabilities or just for being younger, because I know people are thinking the young people don't want to work, but they've got a lot of fire and a lot of passion to get the job done. The Movement to Work programme for young people, it's important. It gives them the opportunity that they might not get anywhere else, and that it gives you confidence. It allows you to progress into an area you never ever thought possible. and that there will be all types of opportunity that will open up as you get further on into the course. I thank you for listening, and if any of the young people with the thinking about the Movement to Work programme have any questions, feel free and I will answer.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rhys, for your very important contribution to today. And I hope you'll all agree with me that it's just so great to hear someone's story firsthand. Next up, we've got another youth ambassador. We've got Brock Anglestone.
Hi, my name is Brock Anglestone. I currently work at the Government Digital Service as an Assistant Private Secretary. So I first heard about Movement to Work back in January 2017. I had been looking for job roles from 6 to 7 months and was just having a really difficult time. I even resorted to printing my CV on bright pink paper to try and stand out from the crowd. Obviously, it did not work out. I then went to a job centre to essentially help me. I'd Googled, I'd watched YouTube videos, and I just didn't know how to get the necessary experience to actually get these interviews or even get my foot into the actual organisation. Thankfully for me, they did mention Movement to Work, and they had said that a previous participant had just gone through and they were now working at the Government Digital Service. This was exciting. I had long-term ambitions to work for the civil service. However, they actually didn't have a placement at that time. So I emailed and I called incessantly, probably annoyed my job coach, so that I could actually get a placement, and it paid off. Within a couple of weeks, I was actually at the Government Digital Service. I had 8.5 weeks of work experience, and now I've actually been there for 3.5 years. Time really does fly by. When I reflect on that time, when I think about the opportunities it gave me and what I'm grateful for, it's definitely the people, the relationships. I can't believe how many people fought for me, who gave me opportunities, who developed me, who wanted to see me flourish, who supported me, who gave me autonomy, who trusted me, who went for my LinkedIn, went for my CV, coached me, encouraged me, stretched me, and I still do that now. It's 3.5 years later, and those individuals are still a really important part of my life, both inside and outside of work. I actually went on holiday with one of them. But yeah, the people and relationships have been incredible, and I will forever be grateful to them, and grateful to the fact that actually they really promote Movement to Work within their organisation. You know, we have a whole group of Movement to Work participants at work. We actually all come from the same job centre, so funny enough, we all get the same train, well, when we work meeting. So yeah, definitely relationships. And then secondly, confidence. You lose a lot of confidence during the massive rejections. I mean, you always get told to not take it personally, and you really shouldn't. But it takes its toll. You know, 6 to 7 months of lots and lots of rejections. It does have an impact on your confidence, and you start questioning how you can add value, how you can contribute. So then coming to an organisation where people give you those opportunities, make you feel that way, really does build your confidence. And it's been incredible. You know, I'm so much more confident than I was, a lot more confidence about my capabilities, and that was something that I definitely didn't have when I was really struggling to find employment. So if there's anyone in the audience that's watching this and they're not quite sure how or whether they should, you know, partner with Movement to Work, I cannot think of an argument why you shouldn't, but I can think of arguments why you can. So for me, it's life-changing. Personally, it's life-changing. I can't think of where I'd be if I didn't have this opportunity. And I actually get quite upset when I think about it. I get quite emotional because I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I made it here and that I got this role. Because without Movement to Work, I don't know if I would have got my foot through the door. I think my confidence would have prevented me from writing a brilliant application, for acknowledging that I do have value, I do have skills, or walking into an interview and really feeling like I owned it because my confidence wasn't there. Now it is, and that's because of Movement to Work. It's so important. I can't stress how important it is for young people to have experience. It's powerful, incredibly powerful, and I definitely underestimated that when I left university, how important experience is. I wish I'd known. I know that, you know, experience is important at every stage of your kind of career progression. There's never a moment where experience doesn't matter. But at the start is when it's most critical and most important. There's always that expectations you'll have some experience, you'll have some transferable skills. And it's a bit of a horrible cycle to not have that and then not be able to get a job in order to secure that. And movement to work intervenes and it helps that, and it takes away that barrier. There's so many barriers, and it takes away that extra one to help people get into work. So to conclude, young people work.
Wow, thank you so much to Rhys and Brock for sharing those incredible stories, really inspirational. And I think it really makes it clear why we are all here today, just so keen to collaborate and to learn how to support our young people into employment. So moving on now, I would like to invite you all to the final part of our forum. It's a live Q&A panel with representatives from all of the amazing contributors we have had today. Now we are running about 5 minutes over time, but with such amazing content, we really didn't feel that we wanted to cut anything out, as it's all just so important. And we still, of course, really want to make the most of our panel session as well. So please do stick around with us if you possibly can. So our panelists today are Amy Caton, she's Work Ready Programme Manager at BT. We have James Lindsay, Employment and Skills Delivery Lead at the West Midlands Combined Authority. Andrew Gladstone-Hyton, who's our Skills and Policy and Data Officer at North of Tyne Combined Authority. Andrew Ridge, Deputy Director at the Prince's Trust. We have Sophie Hope, who is Senior Business Development Manager at Greater Manchester Combined Authority. And last but by no means least, we have Anthony Langdon, who is Partnership and Integration Manager at Ingeus. A really warm welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us today. So our first question is, what has been the hardest problem you feel you've faced in recent months within your organisation, and how did you go about solving that? And as a quick follow-up, what are you most optimistic about? So Andrew, if you would like to lead off.
Thank you very much. Yes, the hardest problem we've faced in recent months, apart from the continued uncertainty around the COVID situation, has been aligning the various interventions and the various stakeholders that those interventions bring about. So not only existing things such as traineeships and apprenticeships, adult education budget, but those responses coming out of the plan for jobs, so the Kickstart programme, aligning that with digital boot camps, for example, aligning that with the additional apprenticeship incentives. So a big part of our work at the moment is trying to align those interventions to ensure that we get young people into the intervention that's going to get them into work or into that opportunity to progress. And we've achieved that through networking with our great providers that we already have in the region, and the stakeholders at the department, you know, the Department for Work and Pensions, Job Centre Plus, colleagues who've been on the call today as well. We are optimistic that through these interventions and through the work that we're putting in place, there will be opportunity to get young people into those jobs that we need in our economy and moving forward.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Andrew. And same question over to you, Amy.
Thanks. I think one of the big things, or the sort of the big internal discussion we've had recently, is breadth of impact versus depth of impact, because I think with, you know, all of the headlines and so many more young people now needing our support, there's a push from certain quarters to actually say, right, you know, let's do as much, you know, let's support as many people as we can. But actually, that could come at the cost of some of the depth of impact, and really being able to invest in a smaller number of young people, but actually get them over the line and help them get into employment and maintain that. So I think that's the kind of thing that we're grappling with internally at the moment, is that kind of how much of both can we do. And I suppose linked to that, the thing that I'm really feeling optimistic about is that more people are aware that this is an issue than ever before. Obviously, the issue is bigger than ever before, but actually it's common parlance now. People get it, and I think I'm sensing more support, more active support across the business, but just generally, which helps me think that, you know, we'll be able to continue to power up our interventions and really kind of take the support internally to the next level.
Wonderful. That's fantastic to hear. Thanks, Amy. And Anthony, over to you. Same question, if I may.
Thanks. There's probably a number of things that you can list off as the hardest problem, but we're geared up to help people that want help to find work. And we work with a network of employers to achieve that. So one of the hardest problems we've had is as DWP has moved its attention towards claimant payment processing, away from referrals, we had a shortfall of people joining our program, so we were unable to meet employer demand. I think also the changing way that employers recruited has impacted on people. With some large employers that would normally interview face-to-face have gone digital by default, and we have digital poverty amongst probably 1 in 3 of the participants that come to us for help. So they weren't able to apply for a job in a warehouse or logistics facility because they didn't have a device that allowed them to have a Skype call. What we have also done is help those people who've been shielding because of health conditions of themselves or people that they live with. We've managed to pivot and I guess secure more home working opportunities. So the fact that somebody's health inhibits their ability to get to a place of work, we've been able to find jobs for people that can't leave the home. I think in terms of optimism, just to summarize, we still have a network of employers that want to reach into communities. I think the Black Lives Matter initiative and the fact that caring for the well-being of your existing workforce has made employers more receptive to helping people and perhaps reaching into more diverse groups. So as we commence the JETS program in the next few weeks, the thousands of people that we anticipate coming to us for help, we've got more employers who are perhaps a bit more receptive to people who are anxious, who are going to be onboarded remotely and employed remotely. That's an encouraging sign for us.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So just moving on briefly now, next question really, what would you say, and I'll come to James first, what would you say is the most important thing for us all to have at heart as we continue to navigate the road ahead, however it may look, for our young people?
I think it's a really good question. I think just the sort of the scale of the impact, really, I think we've all been affected more so than anyone can remember, I think, in terms of the impact on all of our lives. And I think for young people, that's particularly been pronounced this year with things like the uncertainty around examination results and that ability to make the right decision for them, which then sort of translates into anxiety, concerns, risk of just disengaging. So I think, you know, we a few weeks back, we did a summer careers festival online, which was I guess our attempt to sort of do something we would have typically done in the summer, and not allow the circumstances to prevent us from doing that. And it was really, really well received. And I think the reason why was young people just feeling like there was tons of information, but not always in the same place. So I think it's really important to have a coordinated message, whilst also sort of factoring in that there's a lot of sort of individual challenges that young people are going to be facing. So it's that sort of coordinated message with a bit more of a tailored wraparound support package involved as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you for that. And I'll just move over, same question as well, obviously, to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Simon. Really similar to James's response. We've heard today there's been some good support announced for young people to address the crisis which they face. It's good, but it's not enough, and there's still work to do. So probably the sentiment I'd keep at heart of how can we do more and how can we be better for young people? We know we need to act now to prevent record levels of unemployment after furlough ends. And to James's point, really, how can we collaborate in order to be stronger and better for young people, to have a joined up and kind of clear approach and support that young people can access? And you know, as we heard from Brock, your Movement to Work ambassador, finding a job can be incredibly hard, particularly in this current climate. And we've heard just how, you know, the opportunity and support that Brock received has transformed her life. You know, how can we do that for more young people? And again, to James's point, we've all faced challenges brought on by the crisis, you know, individually and the organisations we work for. But you know, the impact that it's had on young people, they've been worst hit by the crisis in the job market, education disruption as well. And finally, how can we direct support those young people who face disadvantage or discrimination to ensure that they don't fall through the net and face the long-term scarring effects felt by long-term unemployment? So how can we direct support at those who need it most as well? Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Andrew. And last but by no means least, Sophie, if I could come to you for your views.
Yes, thanks, Simon. I think it's always quite difficult when you go last, or maybe it's easy because I can say I agree with what's been said by the other panelists, but genuinely I do. I think one thing that we find is kind of a recurring theme is that the impact won't be felt immediately by everybody. So we're looking at ways in which we can support young people, you know, from a much earlier age. I think those obviously who felt the impact immediately in year 11 with GCSE results and A-level and BTEC results going the way that they have, you know, quite a lot of support will be put in place. But I think what we need to be really mindful of is how can we support those much younger, so from year 7 upwards, who will be feeling those effects of anxiety, social anxiety, worried about their future, worried perhaps about what their education might look like as well with the ongoing effects of the pandemic. I think from our angle, we've launched the Young Persons Guarantee in Greater Manchester, which is led by Diane McDowell, and we're looking at a number of key themes where we can support young people from the age of 11 right through to 30. We try to make it a bit of a catch-all, but blending with, you know, making sure that we're striking the right balance as well. So we're looking at how can we reduce economic inequalities, how can we support health priorities, and that support those young people making effective transitions. So for me, I think what we need to have at heart, I guess, is that young people are going to be effective for some time, and where can we provide most support? I think it's right back from year 7 through to the age of 30 as well.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. So time is against us, and I know I've already mentioned that we're running over time, so I'm going to just have to draw this to a close, unfortunately. I would love to have more time to talk to you all. So thank you to each and every one of our panelists for your contributions today and your ongoing support. And I would encourage anybody to continue pushing those questions through. We will capture them and we will respond as soon as we possibly can. With that in mind, I will now hand you back over to Sam. Over to you.
Wow, what a fantastic discussion. Thank you, everyone. And there's always one word that you take from these events, isn't it? And the concept that work experience is a powerful impact on a young person is certainly the one that I'll take away from today. Thank you so much to everyone for your questions and comments and hanging around a bit longer. Apologies that we have gone over, and we really hope you've enjoyed your second Movement to Work forum. Huge thanks to everyone for attending, and also to our fantastic expert contributors and very special guests. We're sorry we've been unable to respond to each and every comment that you've made. They're all valuable, but there is, as I said earlier, going to be a follow-up document where we'll be able to try and respond to most of the salient themes and make connections, which I've seen happening in the chat bar, which is fantastic. The session is also being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel next week, so you can review it, and please do share with your own networks and tell them to get in touch. I hope you'll agree with me that it's been a really informative and inspirational session, and I hope it's given each and every one of you some food for thought for the day and the week. I'd like to again encourage you all to head to our website and visit our COVID-19 page, where you find a whole host of curated information, guidance and resources. We have 3 core initiatives to ensure we all emerge stronger whenever we are allowed to emerge stronger, I hasten to add, following the challenges posed posed by COVID-19. They are young people first, be accessible, go digital, and support and empower. Firstly, in short, we really want to encourage organisations to continue to prioritise young people as part of their ongoing back to work strategy. Secondly, Movement to Work urges all organisations to find creative ways to continue training and development and work experience for young people online. We can offer advice and best practice on how to make this transition. And thirdly, young people are not only financially worse off as a result of the current situation, but emotionally and mentally, they've taken a huge hit. We must help vulnerable young people to recover from this trauma by boosting their confidence and providing meaningful support and ensure their safety. Now more than ever, we need to provide young people with the support to thrive at work and acknowledge their vital role in our economic recovery. So please do join us, get involved, and let's collaborate on some great solutions for young people. Please get in touch with a member of the team if you've got any questions or any ideas. We're now sharing a link to a very quick survey that we'd really like to kindly ask you to spend just a couple of minutes letting us know how you feel the session went. We want these forums to really add value, and so knowing what works and what doesn't is really vital to help us get it right. Thank you again. We hope to see you all at the next Movement to Work Forum in the coming months. Don't forget the Young People Work hashtag. It really can make a huge, huge difference to some of the young people that we've spoken to today.